Welcome into the program, folks. You know, golf is special, and one of the things that separates our sport is how uniquely it intersects with all walks of life. It touches almost every corner of the world, sports or otherwise, so it's no surprise that so many elite athletes, when their professional careers wind down, find themselves regularly out on the golf course. Such is the case with our guest today. Cal Ripken Jr. is a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. He is one of only 10 players in the history of the sport to have had played in 3,000 games. And even more impressive, I think, is he's one of only 10 players to have both 3,100 or more hits and 400 or more home runs. Think about that. Baseball has been around for almost 150 years, and only 10 people ever have accomplished what this man has in that area alone. Of course, he famously broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive game streak in 1995. He continued it until 1998 when he chose to stop. He played 2,632 consecutive games, which is obviously a record that still stands today, and frankly, I don't think will ever be broken. Just some context. Gehrig is second, obviously, on the list, but third is Everett Scott at 1,307 games, less than half of Cal's total. Just a testament to this man's will. I want to talk to him about golf, yes, but baseball. I want to talk to him about his charitable work, which is stout, and so much more. Cal is more than just a Hall of Famer. Simply put, he is a living legend, and it is an absolute honor to welcome him to the program today. Cal Ripken, such a joy to have you on the Fairways of Life show. Welcome. Let's just jump right into this. When you look back on your baseball career, and I just touched on a couple of incredible, legendary highlights, when you reflect, what's the most important to you? What leaves the biggest mark?
Yeah, well, the crowning achievement, obviously, is winning the World Series. There's no better feeling in this world than being the world champion. I caught the last out of the World Series, a small little humpback line drive that I was able to catch with ease. But once I caught the ball, a feeling of satisfaction, fulfillment, accomplishment comes flowing in like 100 times more than anything else you do on the baseball field. And that was in my second year. So I thought we were going to go back to the World Series many times and experience that. Unfortunately, we never did. But that feeling, I know what it feels like, and that's the best feeling of all. 21-31 was probably the best human experience.
Yeah.
But certainly winning the World Series was the crowning achievement.
You know, the thing about that World Series too, for people that, because this is going everywhere, right? For people that don't know what it's like, in the whole metro Philadelphia area definitely stretches to the Jersey Shore. So when you get to South Jersey and you get the whole Baltimore area, there's a lot of rivalry there, and I don't even know if people realize how intense it is.
Well, I mean, the I-95, it was convenient because it was just an hour and a half up the road to Philadelphia at the time. And that was before interleague play, obviously. And I know I experienced, the early parts of interleague play where we went to Philadelphia. And you do sense that there's in close proximity. And ironically, I grew up in a little town called Aberdeen. And Aberdeen was about 30 miles north of on 95 of Baltimore. And my first cable that we had coming to the house was from Philadelphia. So I was a Sixers fan, a Phillies fan, a Flyers fan, because they were on TV all the time. So it felt pretty good to be able to go into Philadelphia and compete. But once you're in that environment, I won't want to say everybody's the enemy, but you need to beat everybody. But it was a special series that it was so close, and that the fans got so involved in it both ways.
Your life story, because you were talking about living 30 miles north and growing up and all the rest. Your story, because of your dad and your introduction into baseball and your brother playing, etc., it's a cool story about how early you adopted the game, the different positions that you played, your understanding of the game, because all accounts were that you were a baseball guy. You really understood the game at a very young age. What do you think it was, aside from, and I mean, I know that there's the obvious with your father, but aside from all of the family connections, was there something in particular that really pulled at your heartstrings and pulled you into the baseball game?
Well, I mean, my dad was a manager of the minor leagues for the first 14 years of my life. So we went into many small towns across the country to be with him for the summer. And many times I went to work with him, which is kind of odd where you go to work with your dad. But I could be the bat boy. I could do different chores around. I could shag in the outfield for early hitting. But just being in that environment and listening and watching and feeling, Dad, in those days, there was no specialty coaches. Dad was the hitting coach, the catching coach, the infield coach, the outfield coach, the pitching coach, all in one. So I got to witness my dad interacting in all those different fields and learning from that. So my dad didn't teach me directly, but I learned by watching him teach others. And granted, it's a huge advantage having the baseball encyclopedia as a dad. And it is interesting. And even if you look at the other players as small little books of specialties, I could go to an outfielder or an infielder. I remember Doug DeSensei was playing for my dad in Asheville, North Carolina, and he took a liking to me. And so I would ask him about how to field a ground ball, how to do this, how to do that, and he would tell me. And then I'd go back and check it against my dad. I talked to Doug today, and he said I should field a ground ball this way. Is that right? And he would say, yes, that's right. So Doug became my best friend. If somebody gave me the wrong information, like an outfielder said, hey, you should catch the ball over here on this side and use one hand, and I'd go tell my dad that, he'd say, no, that's not right. So I would X him off my list. So just being around it as much as I was, I think my first dream was to be a minor league baseball player. And then the reality hit that they don't make much money. So you aim for the big leagues, the higher level.
It's awesome. With all the changes that are happening to baseball right now, with your long history of the game, both from being a kid with your dad, which I have to tell you, Cal, I got a chill up my spine as you were talking about, because your dad managed minor league teams, you would have seen so many stars that would have evolved, ascended to Major League Baseball. And the fact that you were able to pick their brains about how they did this and how they did that is blowing me away. But where the game is at now, with the changes that they've made and for the pitch clock, all of it, I'm just curious about where you stand with the game of baseball 2023.
Well, I mean, I was definitely against, especially the pitch clock at first. I mean, there is something in the rules that says you have to deliver a pitch within so many seconds. I don't know what it exactly is. But the clock itself, I've gone full circle. I was against it at first. I was sort of an old school thought process. But the clock has shaped the behavior to where there's a rhythm back in the game again, where the game flows the way it's supposed to flow. And so I'm fully on board. And maybe it allowed the umpires to enforce it in the right way, and then the players have a visual aid to kind of know what to do. I don't know how that got out of whack. I would suspect towards the end of my career, the walk-up music happened, and it almost seems like every player that was coming to the plate had to wait for their walk-up music to start, leave the on-deck circle, use that so many seconds to, this is my time on stage, and then get in to hit. I love the fact now that, hey, the hitter's got to get in the batter's box and hit, pitcher's got to make a decision with the catcher on what pitch they want to throw, and the game moves. What is the other one? The shift. I think you should be able to play anywhere on the field you want in between the white lines. So I'm not a big advocate of the where you have to play and you can't play a shift and you can't move around. As someone that had their success moving around a lot and anticipating where the ball was going to be hit and in what situations I needed to play where, I would think that would restrict my freedom as a shortstop to do that.
Cal Ripken is an absolute legend. His voice matters. His observations on the game, even in 2023, will definitely resound, because I have a feeling that they're going to continue to look at this and say what worked, what didn't work, and let's make sure that we tweak it correctly. But he also has a passion for the game of golf, and he's be able use that passion in ways that help other people. It's a road that we're going to be going down with the legend in just a moment. Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. Our guest is MLB Hall of Famer and 1983 World Series champion Cal Ripken Jr. Cal plays golf in Maryland at both Caves Valley Golf Club and the Naval Academy Golf Club, and he also served as an ambassador for the 2021 BMW Championship at Caves Valley on the PGA Tour, and we'll do that again when it returns in 2025. Golf is clearly played a role in the life of Cal Ripken. I guess the first question I always have for retired athletes from other sports, Cal, is that does golf fill, if you will, a void for you, a competitive void, an opportunity for you to go out, whether it's against your buddies or whatever level that you define it as? Does it provide you with that opportunity to kind of feel that adrenaline again?
Well, no. And I would continue that. If you look at somebody like John Smoltz, that definitely fills that competitive gap, because that's the way he is. I found that on the basketball court a little bit more, is that grit and determination in the way of the game. But I look at golf. Golf is a fantastic game, and I like going out and playing in a little bit more leisurely fashion, not as serious as sometimes players play. I want to be good, and I haven't devoted as much time to it. When I first retired, I thought I'd play golf all the time, and then you try to build businesses, and you work and you do different things, and you find that you don't have the practice time that you need to get good. So I'm applying myself a little bit more, have a little bit more free time now, but I think it's a great game, and it's frustrating as all heck. Is that little ball sits there and waits for you to hit it. There's no pitcher trying to change speeds or locations, or you could tip your hat to the pitcher if you had a bad at bat, but the only one to blame if you hit a bad shot is you. And it's pretty amazing how mentally you have to stay in the game, and you have to stay focused, and you have to control your actions and repeat them every single time. I think it's a fantastic game, but I don't need it to fill that hole for some reason. I just enjoy the game because it's a great game.
I guess that would cause the second question then, which would be, now that you've been retired for a long time, do you still wake up in the morning with the itch? Do you miss being able to compete at the highest level?
No. I think, as you said earlier, I played 3,000 games. And I joke, damn nearly all of them in a row, and so I felt the competition positively, negatively, in the heat of the moment, failing, succeeding in all different ways, and maybe I have a fulfillment that I'm content and I'm happy. And I don't need to do that anymore. I'm still competitive in many ways. My wife calls me the most competitive person around, and I laugh, because whether it's a card game or whether it's something else, I want to win, or I'll act as if I don't know how I show my competitiveness, but I don't have that need to actually test myself like how you test yourself in at the highest level of baseball. I just try to enjoy what I'm doing now, and other sports. I really enjoy the sport for the sport.
You mentioned at the start of this segment, when I asked you about golf and how much you've been able to play, you said, no, when you're starting to build businesses, et cetera. And I know you have a diverse group of areas that you've invested in, from minor league baseball, et cetera. But could you kind of talk to us about the business empire of Cal Ripken now? What's taking your time and has your passion?
Well, thank you for calling it an empire. But we've been successful in our kids' business. Ripken Baseball is essentially a tournament-based business. We also do camps. We teach, and we try to make the baseball player from 8 to 18 better in many ways. But we have expanded quite a bit in the tournament destinations, and it's a really good time. We're looking to expand much faster in different parts of the country. And the goal was just to have kids experience what it feels like to play in the big leagues. We can't make every field a replica of a big league stadium, but we can theme fields in a certain way that lets the kids feel what we feel at the big league level. Like, we have a Fenway Park, we have a Wrigley Field, we have a Yankee Stadium.
Oh, cool.
And when you play games in the different ballparks, it affects how you play and what the outcome of the game is. Billy and I started, this business because we thought we were lucky and we had a chance to know what it feels like to play at the highest level in those great places. And we just want to bring that experience down to the kids. And we've been really successful there. The minor league teams, I still own a minor league team in Aberdeen. At one point, we owned 3 minor league teams, and now we're down to 1. And that's a fun experience, but that seems like it's a gift more to the community, that it's a community gathering point. Minor league baseball was in my background growing up, as we talked about earlier. I think it's a really special place, safe place for kids to come, with their parents. Their parents feel like they can let them move around the stadium a little bit. So I enjoy that part of it. But a lot of times, what's taken up most of my time now is the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation. And that foundation was started when we lost our dad at 63 years old. And we captured the legacy of his life in helping kids. He did it through baseball professionally, but he also used baseball to get in front of kids that didn't have all the same advantages to try to provide them another opportunity and gain the value that sports can give you. So we've been extremely successful with the foundation. We're in all the states. We've built 114 what we call youth development parks. They cost about $1 million to $1.5 million, which provides safe places for kids to, in tough areas to play and to learn. So we've really got a momentum there, and that's been very fulfilling to me. Is in Dad's name, we're able to go around and really help a bunch of kids. I think we helped 1.3 million kids last year.
Whoa. Charity, as you've been illustrating, is a massive part of your life. You established that Cal Ripken Senior Foundation, memory of your dad, in 2001. It is a 501c nonprofit, which now has 305 fully operational turnkey STEM programs in 20 states, as well as 11 district-wide public school systems, and impacts some 1.5 million kids annually. It also has a Clean and Safe Park initiative, which I think now is 100 youth development parks across 23 states. So earlier in the show, when you and I were talking about establishing, a dynasty, if you will, you've done it with what you're doing with this foundation. I guess the obvious question is, why did you do it? And could you ever have envisioned this level of success?
I'll answer the second question first. No, I could never envision the influence and the success we've had from the foundation. We hired really good people. We built a really good board. We have a good mission, and that all seems to have come together. But if you go back to the very beginning, the why, I remember my parents, as an example. They were very active in their community with a hands-on approach. They didn't have a whole lot of money to use their money, but they used their time, and it was always important for them to help the community. And I remember my mom telling me when I went to the big leagues, they said, you can go on and be a big league player, and then you can make a lot of money, and look at all the impact that you can have from that position. And so when I first signed my first bigger contract, I was looking for ways to invest with your money and with your time. Adult literacy was a program at the time that the mayor of Baltimore was pushing through, and I thought that was really important, because the value of an education first starts with your ability to read, and if you can't read, you're trying to fake it all the way through. And then I said yes to almost everything that was put in front of me from a community service oriented objective. And so I just said yes. I thought it was part of my job, and I really enjoyed doing that. But it wasn't until Dad got cancer and then Dad died that we thought that we would really focus our attention in one direction and really try to help kids. And that's really what Dad's life was all about. I don't understand it to this day when Dad would wake me up in Asheville, North Carolina at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and said, would you like to come with me? I'm giving this clinic. And I would say yes, because I knew my sister would say no, and I knew my other brother would say no, and I'd have private time with my dad. But I went to these different places, and he spent a lot of time teaching baseball. He wasn't trying to find a big league player in these different areas. I think he was trying to give the kids an opportunity and discover the value of the positive nature of sports, your individual responsibilities, your collective responsibilities to the team. I think he was just trying to give them a lesson, and it was really important to him. So when he died, Billy and I decided to start a foundation to capture that magic, and we by and large have. And I think one of our most successful programs that we're really proud of is a Badges for Baseball program, which we essentially teach law enforcement about baseball, and then they trade on that knowledge as a coach in areas that they want to have a relationship with. The kids really benefit from that sort of relationship, because if you think about it, a coach spends a whole lot more time with kids than maybe an individual teacher does at school. And so it was a really, and it's really effective when the police officer is really, really good. I think in all programs, the success of the programs lies in the people that do it. But we feel really, really good about marrying, an area that the police want to have a better relationship with, and also the kids need that sort of structure and help. And we've done a really good job in that. And we've built 114 fields around the country, that beautiful turf fields that the community embraces in the area and protects, and they become safe places for the kids. As my brother Billy would say, there's a point sometimes in these tough areas where kids that have a choice. Do they go down the street and kind of hang with their friends and kind of move into a gang, or do they look over here and see this beautiful sports place and say, I want to go over there and I want to learn about that? My brother Billy says that they'll choose that beautiful field every single time. And I think by and large, that's been true.
Welcome back, folks. It has been an absolute pleasure to have the company of MLB Hall of Famer Cal Ripken Jr. today. It is quite clear Cal embodies success both on and off the field. And so I'm going to start there, Cal, if I can. How do you define success?
Well, I do have an opinion on almost everything, but I'm trying to think, how do you define success? I mean, working to be the best you can be, whatever you decide to do. I remember the early lessons from my dad when we're cutting the grass or trimming the driveway. He would always say there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it, or halfway way to do it. I think he used a different word than halfway. But once you're finished that job, no matter whatever the job you're doing, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Dad would come out and stand with us and say, look, you did that. And that sort of would make you feel prideful and would make you fill up. So I think applying yourself in whatever you want to accomplish, it's not always how much money you make. It's not that you get all of this recognition for it. Whatever you decide to do it as well as you can. I think that would be the way that I would define success.
And keeping on that road, if you would allow, and I don't mean to ask you difficult questions with this, but it's fascinating to get your perspective on it. Cal Ripken Jr. as a brand. Now, I'm talking about your baseball career. I'm talking about your post-baseball career. I'm talking about your passions with giving back. I'm talking about your involvement in the game of golf, all of it. How would you define the brand that is Cal Ripken Jr.?
I laugh. Everybody wants to build a brand now, whether it's through social media and to me, you don't build a brand. The brand is what you become. And it's through the collection of your actions, your everyday efforts. It's how other people perceive you. It's not how you want to be perceived. So I'm really thankful that people perceive me as a hard worker. I think one of the questions I was asked when I left baseball is, how do you want to be remembered? And then I answered, I said, to be remembered at all is pretty special. But I would like people to think that I was a gamer. We have a term that's called gamer in our sport. That means you're willing to show up and meet the challenges of each and every day, no matter what they are. And you can count on me to do that. So that's how I like people to think of me. But, your brand is an accumulation of your life's decisions and who you become and what other people think about it. I don't really think about capitalizing on your brand or building a brand so you can monetize it. I just think that, that's how other people see you. And you need to live your life in the way that you think is right. So I guess I have a problem nowadays where people are trying to build a brand or look for what is their legacy. Just live life, play the game, do whatever you're doing, and then see where that leads you.
I take it then your other half of that is that the so-called building of a brand, building of your life, becoming who you're meant to be. It's not about doing it in a flash. It's not about doing it fast. It's about doing it right and doing the things you need to do to build all that. Would that be a correct interpretation?
Absolutely. Everything is, we talked about the success of the foundation. Everything to me is an evolution, and you're learning as you go. You make adjustments. I keep thinking, I hear my dad's voice come in, many, many times during the course of the day. And one of the things Dad would say, the game of baseball is about adjusting and then readjusting. And so if you think about applying that to life, you want to do something, you want to learn from it, then you want to make adjustments necessary to get better. And then you build off of those successes. And when you build off those successes, then something really good can happen. I laugh internally by thinking, God, I would have felt good just to help a few kids in our community, in and around the Baltimore area. And then to see our foundation grow the way it is, and you kind of shake your head and go, how in the world did it grow that way? Well, it grew that way one step at a time, one lesson at a time, and you just keep adding on to it. So I think life is an evolution, and it is your successes are something that you can build on each and every day, and then it turns into something.
So, Cal, if you could go back now, remarkably, over 40 years, if you could go back and the Cal Ripken of today could give advice to Cal Ripken in those early tender years as a professional player, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I went away as a 17-year-old out of high school, and the professional game of baseball came at me really quickly. I thought the game speed was fast. I made 30-some errors in 60 games in my first year. I didn't hit a home run for the first year and a half in the minor leagues. And confidence is something that you gain, but I would advise myself to go in with a little bit more confidence about who you were. And because when you're a little scared, you tend to play scared, where you don't let yourself come fully through. So I don't like the word swagger necessarily, but I would advise myself to go in. My dad used to say, know that you belong, but that's something that you have to learn along the way. So I wish that I could put what Dad used to say too, is we try to put 40-year-old heads on 20-year-old bodies, and try to give the wisdom of experience from 40 years to a 20-year-old, but many times they have to go through it themselves. And so I guess I would try to encourage myself and reassure myself that things were going to be all right, that I deserve to be there, that I earned my way there, and just enjoy it and go with it. Because the first couple of years of my professional career, was kind of miserable. I was making a lot of mistakes. I thought I wasn't going to make it. I got down on myself a little bit, and then things started to click. So maybe I would advise myself to be a little bit more self-assured when you start out, and then maybe. But it's hard to say because I got to the big leagues before my 21st birthday. Maybe I could have got to the big leagues when I was 19. So it's really hard, but I don't have any regrets looking back, which I think a lot of players, when I first sat in the back of the bus in the early parts of my career, a couple of people were at the end of their career and they were thinking, I wish that I would have played more. I wish that I would have taken it more seriously. I did all those things, and I don't have regrets looking back. But I wish that I would have been a little bit more confident going away to play pro ball.
Along those lines, the last question I'm going to ask you today, Cal, is about dream building and people who are harboring a dream in their heart, whether they're kids or not. But I want to ask you about some advice on that you'd give those people. But before I do that, because we're running short on time and you've been so generous to us, I do want to ask you about golf and using the game of golf through your charity events, et cetera, to help build all of these initiatives that you have. How important is it to you from that standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, golf is a wonderful sport to raise money, and we're really good at raising money for the foundation. We have quite a few golf tournaments, and everybody enjoys coming together and the camaraderie that comes together. I mean, of course, there's a tournament, and you give out awards and those sorts of things. But it's just it's wonderful to be outside, to be with people, to spend 18 holes with someone. You learn a lot about them, and I just think the game of golf is so challenging and so good. And everybody can play it. Everybody, if you're a little older and you need a little assistance from an earlier tee box, that's great. If you're just starting out, you can know that you're going to hit a lot of bad shots. But even people that play the game a lot hit some bad shots as well. So anyway, we love the game of golf. I'm applying a little bit more. I'm trying to get a little bit better. And get a little bit more consistent. And now I feel like I have a little bit more time, but we love it as a mechanism to raise funds, and we're really good at it.
RipkenFoundation.org. Again, RipkenFoundation.org is a website you can log on to find out more about the foundation's engagements, or just log on to CalRipkenJr.com, which is his website as well. So last question I have for you, my friend. Someone has a dream. Whether they're a kid or whether not a kid, someone has something that they've always wanted to do, whether it's fear, whether it's a confidence that you were talking about, whether it's your dad's advice about adjusting and then readjusting. What advice do you have for those people who are chasing a dream?
Well, I mean, go for it, and know that you have in your capabilities, in your hands, the ability to make a difference. The harder you work, the more you apply yourself, the more you learn. It's inside of yourself. Now, if your dream is to be a big league player and you don't have quite the skill, to be able to throw or to hit at the highest level, then you're going to fall off. But go for it. Do the best you can. Lay it on the line. Take a chance. You'll have no regrets when you if you don't make it, because you've given it your best shot. But I'd say go for it and know that you have the control inside your body to make things happen.
Cal, I am a huge baseball fan. You are an absolute legend. And with all due respect, when you think about what you will be remembered for with the tenacity that you had, the longevity that you had, the fact that you were a big guy playing shortstop for so many years and you redefined the game in so many different ways, the stuff you're doing with your foundation, and the way that you are touching and changing lives, I have a strong suspicion that well after we're gone, years and years from now, they may look back and go, wow, that Ripken Foundation is a legacy that will live on forever. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah, we're really proud of it. Thank you so much.